This Sunday on Press Pass, Valley school districts are keeping a close eye on what could be a major shakeup in funding. 3 proposals, all vetoed by the governor, still have a chance to become law if legislators override his decision, which they are considering later this month. The proposals include limits on how districts use voter-approved tax levies, changes to a funding guarantee, and giving county budget commissions new power to lower school taxes without local input. The Ohio House is headed to Columbus July 21st to consider overriding the governor. Even with these vetoes in place, Ohio's budget provides less for public schools and more for private voucher programs. So here with more on all of this, the president of the Ohio Education Association, Scott DeMauro. Scott, thank you for taking the time today.
Good to be with you, Leslie.
Of course. So are you concerned that lawmakers have enough votes to override the governor's vetoes when it comes to this session on the 21st?
I think it's going to be a close vote. We know that they need 60 votes to override the governor's veto, and we are doing all we can to communicate with legislators the importance of not doing that. Our schools are underfunded as it is. What these veto overrides would do would be to put an additional squeeze on funding at the local level. And that's not what we need. Not if we want to maintain reasonable class sizes, ensure that all students have the supports that they need, and all kids have a wide-ranging curriculum that really helps them for their futures.
Yeah, and in what ways will schools have to adapt to these changes when it comes to getting funding through things like levies, and how will that affect students and the taxpayers?
It's going to make things just a lot more unpredictable, especially, for example, if you have a county group of officials that can unilaterally reduce tax rates after the voters have put those levies in place. That's not fair. It makes it really hard to predict finances for the future. And it's really a short-sighted way to address an important issue, which is property tax relief, which I know a lot of Ohioans expect. We just don't want to see property tax relief happening on the backs of our kids.
Now, at the same time, in a statement after Governor DeWine signed the budget, you said you were disappointed in the failure of the General Assembly to fully update and fairly fund the public schools that serve 90% of students in our state. What does the funding decrease look like for public schools in this budget, and will it be felt as soon as the school year?
Well, what we see in this budget is a cheap knockoff of the Fair School Funding Plan that resulted in underfunding of public schools by over $2 billion. When you compare what the actual cost of providing quality education to every student compared to what the legislature is providing, that's a significant shortfall. And then at the same time, they're increasing funding for unaccountable voucher programs, for charter schools. And a lot of that money, it's over $1 billion, that is subsidizing tuition for wealthy families that have never sent their kids to public schools.
Yeah, and despite, you kind of touched on this, but despite a recent court case that found the program in the state unconstitutional, the budget also put more funding toward the voucher programs. How has the voucher program been impacting public school funding over the years?
Well, when you have a limited amount of resources, every dollar that is put into the voucher program is a dollar that's not available to serve the nearly 90% of Ohio kids attending public schools. As schools get squeezed for resources at the state level, that means that voters are going to be asked more frequently to approve levies at the local level. That is getting harder and harder to do as people are feeling property tax fatigue. And so the number one job of the legislature needs to be fully and fairly funding our public schools.
What's the next step for education if this gets overridden, the vetoes get overridden?
Well, I think it's going to affect different districts in different ways, and everybody's going to have to take a step back and reassess the situation. But what I'm concerned about is it could require either more levy requests, which could be more taxes for local community members, or cuts to programs, fewer classes, larger class sizes, less support for kids who need it the most.
And Scott, this is your final interview with us as OEA president. What are your plans as you move out of this role? Do you plan to stay in education in some aspect?
I'm retiring from teaching. I spent 34 years in education, loved every minute of it. It's been amazing advocating for teachers across the state and our education support professionals. I plan on staying involved, probably advocating for public education in one form or another, living here in Northeast Ohio now.
All right, Scott DeMauro, thank you so much for joining us and good luck on your future.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.